What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to another model review. It's your host Ray. In today's review, I'll be going over the NG model 1 to 400 scale Southwest Airlines Boeing 737-800 and the blank blended winglets configuration. This was quite an unexpected release from NG model, since most manufacturers don't choose to release models that have certain features for short periods of time. The story behind this airplane is that it was manufactured and delivered to Southwest Airlines in this configuration, where it was probably converted to the standard split scimitar winglets shortly after. So it didn't exist in this configuration for very long, and if I remember correctly, it existed in this configuration for only a few weeks or a few months at most. So quite an interesting backstory, but this airplane does not exist in this configuration anymore. That being said, this review will consist of a short discussion of the box, then an in-depth discussion and analysis of the model's features, and at the end of the video I'll give my personal opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. Alright, so starting off with the box is 13 centimeters lengthwise, 13 centimeters tall, and 3.5 centimeters wide. So it's pretty consistent with the other NG 737 family boxes. I'll show you around the box. The box art is pretty interesting. It looks kind of bland in my opinion because it doesn't have any of the bright yellow color that Southwest has on their airplanes. And I believe the reason for that is because this model was also released with a standard configuration Southwest Airlines 737-800, and NG usually designs the box arts to match with the other model's box art. However, I don't have the other models, so therefore I cannot show this. Since this model was released in July of 2022, it does feature the Collector Rewards Program card, and here it is in the green color. Alright, here's the model itself. So the model is 9.9 centimeters long, that's the fuselage length. The wingspan is 8.8 centimeters, and it's about 3.3 centimeters tall from the ground to the top of the vertical stabilizer. So it's relatively small, and it's accurate to 1 to 400 scale. Alright, now let's start the in-depth analysis portion. We'll start up at the front of the aircraft. So here is the front of the fuselage. The nose shape on the model looks pretty good. There's lots of printed detail up here as per usual. You can even see the little heart logo there, and that looks really, really nice actually. So NG definitely cared about precision on the printed details on this model. As we move down the fuselage, you can see more printed details. There's the Southwest title, looks pretty good. No complaints overall. Okay, I just noticed some weird liquid film on there that I can wipe off with my finger. That's something common for mono manufacturers these days, so it's kind of weird, but it is what it is. There's the tail registration, and here is the tail section. Here's the vertical stabilizer. Vertical stabilizer looks pretty good, no complaints here. Decent amount of molded detail, and the paint and the coloring looks really good. And the American flag here looks particularly detailed. You can even see some of the stars on the blue section of the American flag, so very nicely done. Here's the right side of the aircraft. Same thing can be said about the right side as the left side. Coloring looks good, printed detail looks very consistent, lots of it too. So overall, very nice on the fuselage. Moving on to the wings. The wings in this model are pretty nice. There's a decent amount of printed detail on there, not as much as I'm used to seeing, but I think it's still accurate, so I'll let that slide. Lots of molded detail that looks particularly nice. I'm looking at it in the light here. Looks really good. You can see the air brakes and the flaps, as well as the slats. Overall, very nicely done. The underside of the wings aren't as detailed. There's not any printed detail down here, but the molded detail looks pretty good. And the winglets, they look pretty nice. The shape is pretty good. It's kind of pointy up here, but I can't complain too much since it's kind of hard to replicate these kinds of details on 1 to 400 scale, and the shape is still pretty acceptable. And the right side, this one is a little bit more questionable. It's way pointier than on the left side, and there is a paint chip here, so that's kind of sad to see. But aside from that, that's the only defect with the winglets, and I notice no other issues with the wings or the winglets. Here is the rear section of the aircraft again. Here we can see the horizontal stabilizers and the APU. Everything here looks good. Horizontal stabilizers don't have any printed detail on them, which is to be expected. There isn't really that much to put on there. The APU looks pretty good. It's painted nicely, and I have no complaints. Everything looks good back here. Moving on to the engines, as per usual with NG 737 family engines, the engines on this model look really nice. You can see the shape looks good, it's not bent up or down. The exhaust nozzle looks fantastic. It's painted a nice dark metallic gray, which I'm not sure that's 100% accurate, but the shape looks good and the paint looks consistent, so that's pretty nice. Fan blades look really good as well. They always have since this mold was introduced. And of course, there's a decent amount of, or there's a lot of printed detail on the underside. So very, very nicely done. Now for aerial features, this model only features antennas, and there is a total of 5 antennas on the aircraft. There's 2 on the top, with 1 large antenna on the center of the fuselage on the top, and 1 small one at the rear section on the top as well. Both of these look fine, the alignment looks good, placement looks fine, so no complaints on there. And on the bottom of the aircraft, there are 3 antennas, 1 here, here, and here. These look good as well. They are all the same size as the large antenna on the top of the fuselage, and I really don't have any complaints either. From here, we'll transition directly to the bottom of the aircraft since I really don't have anything else to say. Bottom of the aircraft looks really nice. All sorts of printed detail down here that's very easy to see with the blue color. Most of these details are a gray or a white color, so they're seen very clearly and they're easy to see. I thought I saw a paint defect here, but no, that's actually just the antenna, so no paint defects either, and everything looks good down here. Now for the landing gear, here's the nose gear. The nose gear looks pretty good. You can kind of see a little bit of a paint chip on the rim. You can see a little bit of gold sticking out there, but the wheels roll, so that's good. And on the other side, this paint chip is absent, so that's also good. The main landing gear are very nice too. The wheels roll smoothly, just like the front gear. I did notice there was a little bit of an alignment issue with the right side gear. However, this is corrected once the model is sitting down on a flat surface, so I won't complain. It's more or less of the way the wheel sits, and I think that's because the wheel rolls, so it is prone to having balance issues on when it's floating in the air. And another feature that many collectors have noticed now is that the gear cover here is painted blue like on the real aircraft, and that's a very small detail that's very hard to pull off, and not many manufacturers pay attention to this, so that was very nice to see that inclusion there. And here's the front of the aircraft. Here we can see wing flex as well as cockpit window printing. The wing flex, as per usual with NG 737 family, is flawless. It looks really nice. If anything, it might actually be a little bit too parallel to the ground, but in my opinion, it looks really good, so make your own opinion with what you see here. Gear balance looks good, the model sits parallel to the ground, and the cockpit window printing looks really good, so I can't complain about that. It might be tilted towards the right side of the aircraft, but that might also be my eyes playing tricks on me, so even if it is tilted, it looks good, so the tilt is almost negligible, so I'll let that slide. Well, that concludes the review, and on record time, I went a little bit faster this time around. Now time for my personal opinion recommendation. So the quality on this model is really nice. I'm not exactly a fan of the blank winglets, but that's just an opinion-based thing that really doesn't apply to the model's quality. But the quality of the model is really, really good. Of course, there was a paint chip on the right wingtip, and that's kind of hard to notice, but it is there, so quality control with NG model has been fluctuating recently. However, on this specific model, it seems to be pretty good. I haven't seen any reports of broken examples of this specific model, so if you want to get it, now time for my recommendation. If you want to get it, go for it. It's certainly a unique configuration, and it will sell out eventually. It won't sell out as fast, but it will sell out eventually, so get yours quickly. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those down below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more airplane content, as well as a channel announcement, which will follow shortly. See you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching.